All right. Hello, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Welcome in person or online to Concordia University's For Space. Thanks so much for joining us for this mid-morning, early afternoon event called Biodiversity and Nature at Concordia and Beyond. We have two guest speakers here with us today, Jackie Martin and Marc-Antoine Poulin. So I'll be passing it over to them in just a second. But first, I wanted to let you know that we're streaming live to YouTube from ForSpace, which is located on unceded Indigenous lands here in Tiohtià:ke, Montreal. And we'd like to extend our gratitude to the Kanien'kehá:ka Nation, who are the caretakers for the lands and waters we're meeting on today, for their teachings about the earth and our relations. If you're new to ForSpace, well, welcome in, again, online or in person. We work with our university community here to create ways to exchange and mobilize knowledge through these sorts of activities that we do daily, workshops, conversations, panels, podcasts, etc. So we're so pleased to welcome you in. And to get us a little bit further situated on what's happening this week and how this event fits into it, I'll be passing the floor to Rebecca Titler. Hi, Rebecca.
Good morning, Anna. Thank you so much. Welcome everybody here in the space and online. It's great to see you all. Thank you to the crew at ForSpace, first of all, who have been so wonderful supporting us all week. This Conference of Research That Matters is our annual discussion of sustainability across disciplines here at Concordia, free and open to the public. We're thrilled to have any and all interested people. We have been in the ForSpace all week. This is our last day in the ForSpace, but we are also in the MB Conference Center, 9th floor of the JMSB building today, and we will be there tomorrow as well. There are still a lot of events going on. We have a Careers in Sustainability panel happening this afternoon at 3:15 in the MB Conference Center. I highly encourage all students to attend. We'll have a great panel there. We have a keynote address from Eliane Ubalihoro tomorrow, which will be wonderful. She'll close up the conference for us. We have a lot of student presentations between now and then as well. I should take the opportunity also to thank our partners for this conference, which is hosted by the Loyola College for Diversity and Sustainability and the Loyola Sustainability Research Center here at Concordia. But we also have funding from the Departments of Geography and Biology and Sociology and Anthropology, the Science College, School of Community and Public Affairs, Communication Studies, the Office of Research here at Concordia, Sustainability Action Fund, and the Leads Create program here, as well as the Elastic Spaces SSHRC-funded program. So lots and lots of people who have been generous in contributing not just funding, but also their time and their expertise, which has been a real joy. So thank you to all of our partners and to all of you for being here. And with no more further ado, I'll introduce our speakers for this morning. We have Jackie Martin and Marc-Antoine Poulin, who are going to present a series of 2 workshops. We did pair them together because they have a lot in common, as you will see. Jackie is a longtime Concordia community member who did some degrees here, founded the City Farm School out at Loyola, oh gosh, a long time ago. But it is still there, and has the university has recently hired her as the Urban Agriculture and Biodiversity Coordinator for the university. So we were thrilled to have that position and to have Jackie in it. It's really making a huge difference for us. And we also have Marc-Antoine Poulin, who is an undergraduate student in the biology department, doing fabulous work, and they're going to tell you all about everything that they're doing. So I'll pass it along to you.
Great, thanks, Rebecca. Can everybody hear me okay? Great, well, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really happy to have this opportunity to speak with all of you here and online about my new position and what initiatives we have going on at Concordia right now. I'm just gonna take a second and start to share my screen. Okay, all right, thanks for your patience with that. Yeah, so as Rebecca said, I have been at Concordia for a long time. I did my undergraduate degree here in geography department. The degree I did was in human environment. It was really great experience, and it really introduced me to a lot of different areas in sustainability. We learned environmental science. We learned a lot about how communities work. We learned a lot about cities and like how to make cities more sustainable. The part that I gravitated to the most was cities and agriculture. And so that's where, because I found like for me, that was a place where I could still live in the city. I still liked the city life. But I felt it gave me a lot of autonomy. It gave me the ability to grow my own food and to connect with nature in an urban space, and also connect with the people around me. So from there, that's where I went on to work with Marcus Laub, who's gone on to work in British Columbia now, and Professor Satoshi Ikeda to start the City Farm School project. This project really started a lot of opportunities for people at Concordia to start to use the land in, like, now we talk about the living labs model quite a bit, but this was a project where students and with a professor working with facilities management identified a space on campus that then they gave us autonomy to run a project on. The project that we created was an urban agriculture school, which then brought in like community members, students who could learn how to do organic agriculture in a small space in a city. And we focused a lot on community building. And it was also really important to us then, as you'll see from the projects that have taken on after it, is to kind of change the idea of agriculture. A lot of the times when we talk about biodiversity and agriculture, they're adversarial. Like in the commercial agricultural business, there's a lot of monocropping. There's a lot of like simplifying the landscape in order to just produce the one crop that you want, your cash crop. Whereas in biodiversity, it's the exact opposite of that. You want to complicate the landscape. You want to invite as many different life forms into that landscape and try and have them all support each other, whereas humans participate but don't dominate in that space. And so that's how these two things come together for me, is like, how do we create spaces that, yes, fulfill needs that humans have, like having food and having access to like clean water, soils, and air, but also very respectful of all the other organisms that we need to have this. And so I'm going to walk you through a lot of the initiatives that we have right now at Concordia that I think are doing an excellent job at bringing these things, these two, like agriculture and biodiversity, together. And I'm also going to end this by asking for your ideas, because I'm in a new position at the university. And one of the things that we would like to do with this position is continue to work with that like living laboratory model and draw from the expertise within our community. Like, you guys live here, you are on the campus, you're here all the time. So what kinds of things would you like to see with your knowledge and your time here? What kinds of things would you like to see to increase biodiversity or to better the agriculture we have on campus? So I'm going to invite you to participate in some activities that I have planned later, but also I really want to hear from you. So I'm going to give you my email at the end of the presentation, and I want to keep talking. So one of the projects that we have at the Loyola campus that is really kind of pushing the envelope in terms of what you can do to respect both biodiversity and really micro local, hyper local agriculture is Cultivation. So Cultivation is a workers' cooperative. Many of you will know Eric Chevrier, who's a professor here. He's one of the lead members of this cooperative. They work on two different plots, one at Duff Court, and they also have a large plot at Loyola campus. There, they grow vegetables, organic vegetables, for a CSA. They also supply the Concordia Farmers Market, they supply the Hive Cafe, and they're basically willing to work with any other like cooperative, like-minded organization on campus. And they're very aware of Concordia food circular economy, and they want to contribute to it in a positive way. One of the ways that you can get involved in this is they actually run an education program similar to what City Farm School used to run. So it's very hands-on as well as theoretical. Registration for that will be coming up fairly soon. So you would come out and you work with the farmers on the field, and you learn and you see day in, day out, like, what does it take to grow food, and what does it take to grow food in particular with the eye towards regenerative agriculture, so that you're not minimizing the environment, you're maximizing the environment, and you're learning to work in harmony with all of the elements that are truly needed to not just get food out of it, but to leave the environment better that after you leave it than how you found it. The Concordia Pollinators Initiative is another project that happens at Loyola campus. This is a great living laboratory example. This actually came out of Professor Carly Zeder's urban ecology class. So in her class, they learned all about urban ecology, and then she put forward to them, please come up with project ideas. So the students worked in groups, came up with project ideas of things that they would like to see happen on the campus. And this project actually went ahead, and it exists now. There's 2 gardens. There's 2 gardens on the campus that are filled with native pollinators. I had the pleasure last year of working in these gardens and helping to lead the volunteer sessions. And it really is something spectacular that you see when you put your mind to creating an environment that pollinators will like. It is filled with insects, it is filled with bees, it is filled with butterflies. Everybody who comes by has something nice to say. Like, it's just you really get a sense of like what nature gives back to you when you spend time in a space like that. And again, this summer is something that anyone who's interested can get involved. We're going to be doing regular volunteer sessions there this summer as well. I don't know if any of you saw earlier, but Andre Tremblay was on just this morning, just before us, with her talking about how to start your seedlings. But her garden is right across the street from the pollinators' garden. It's another great example of how you can use the landscape to benefit not only the environment but the people. This garden is multi-generational. It brings in like some of the youngest people and some of the oldest people you'll ever see on campus, all coming together and working together. I had the experience of working in this garden with these people last year, and everyone smiles, everybody participates, everyone is excited. There's a real joy that goes on when you are in this space. And like, this is Andrea's PhD research. The Mind Heart Mouth Garden is a part of her PhD research. She's here, so I'm trying really hard not to mess this up. But it's really looking at that, like how can you create a sense of community with space? How do you create a place? And some of the things that I've seen there is, one, it's just through growing beautiful plants you will bring the people in. 2, growing plants for a purpose. The produce from here is donated to help older adults and people who may be experiencing food insecurity. So there's a real joy to that. Like, you're growing, you have this abundance, and you had a great time doing it. And then you know that where your produce is going is very meaningful in someone else's life. There's also a musician who comes out every once in a while, so I really encourage you to come and join us this summer in this garden. It's a great experience. The People's Potato Garden is also located on the Loyola campus. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the People's Potato lunch service on the downtown campus, but they were actually the first community garden that we had at Concordia. City Farm School was a great big one that we were a part of, but this was the first one that was there. It started, I think, in about 2009. This garden is a real example of what community gardens can do. Throughout the years, there's been a number of different coordinators that have come into this space, but there's been a steady stream of neighborhood volunteers that are always there. And these people are generally retired women with a lot of knowledge, come and very patiently every year teach all of the rookies, myself included back in the day, how to take care of this garden. And they can teach you about the history of the space. And in that time, you learn about the history of the neighborhood. And you watch the evolution over time of how it goes from being like grass, just grass with cardboard and then compost, to now there's grapevines there that have been growing for more than 10 years. There's hops. There's a real diversity of plants in there. And also a lot of this produce, well, a portion of this produce is saved and then served at people's potato lunches throughout the year. So some of you might have consumed parts of this garden without even knowing it. And this is a fairly new project to Concordia. This is Hamidou Horticulture. It's a very interesting project, and one that I'm really proud that we have at Concordia, because I think that he's doing some very important and necessary work. Is Hamidou specializes in growing African and Caribbean vegetables. And what he does, the way that he does it, is he doesn't take these vegetables and then like try to adapt the climate that we're in to give them the hotter and wetter or drier needs that they would have in their native environment. What he's been doing is working with the plants carefully, watching them, paying attention, and then making selections which of these African vegetables thrived in a Montreal growing season. And then you save the seeds from those and you move forward. So he's bringing new food crops that are important to a lot of people who live here and adapting them to our environment. This is an amazing skill that we need to learn, even if you're not growing African vegetables or vegetables that are less acclimatized to our environment, because our climate is changing from year to year. I've noticed that very, very firsthand, like over the 10 years of farming at Loyola, is we have drought now. We have flooding now. These are things that we didn't used to have, and they're coming at inopportune times. So all of us really need to be thinking about that when we're gardening, is like paying attention to our crops, who's succeeding in the new conditions, and making sure that we propagate those plants and those genes forward. And this is what Hamidou is teaching a lot. This is a lot of what he's teaching. The program that he runs is actually offered through the Continuing Education Center here at Concordia, and applications are open now if anyone's interested. And you can get in touch with me and I can tell you more about it. But it's really a great program, and it's really important work, and I'm very happy to have it here on the campus. This is the City Farm School Medicinals program is still running, and this is a very interesting mix of where you see food and biodiversity meet. A lot of the plants that we use as medicinal plants can be native, can be perennial, and are edible too. Like a lot of what you'll learn in this program is that like food is medicine, and these plants in particular are very well adapted to our landscape and have been here for a really long time. This is another educational program that you can sign up for, and they'll run you through an entire season of how to start these plants all the way to the end where you harvest and transform them for human consumption. Another project that's not agriculture related at Concordia is the Native Tree Project, which was actually brought forward by the Loyola College of Sustainability and Diversity. They planted 185 native tree species on the Loyola campus. These trees are still small. This was just in 2019 that they were planted, but as they grow, this is going to create an amazing resource for us at Concordia, where we'll be able to like watch what the native species do. We're able to watch the way that they grow. They are planted in little, I would call them thickets throughout the campus. And what our goal is to slowly let the understory grow, and it'll give us a place, one, for relaxation, just to go and enjoy yourself, but also a great research opportunity. There are not a lot of native plants planted in Montreal, and this is an opportunity for people to study them and learn from them. ABC Compost is something that kind of works to tie all of this together. This group it collects waste from the gardens, collects waste from the foods, and then turns it into very valuable compost, either through using tumblers set up on both campuses, and they also have vermicomposting for indoors. They are going to be doing a workshop coming up on April 3rd. If anyone's interested, I can give you more information about this group as well. The Concordia Greenhouse is our shining star on the downtown campus. Almost all of the groups that I've talked about so far have a connection to the Concordia Greenhouse. This is where they go to learn workshops or to give workshops. This is where they go for their meetings. This is where they go to start their seedlings. The greenhouse is a real hub for all things agriculture and biodiversity on campus, and I'd really encourage all of you to check it out. So new initiatives, what we're moving with now, and then the idea to kind of tie a lot of this together is Concordia joined the Campus Biodiversity Network just earlier this, I guess in the fall, so last year. What this is it encourages campuses all across Canada and Quebec in particular to go out and use iNaturalist, which Marc-Antoine is going to teach you about in a little bit, and contribute to building up the information about what biodiversity exists on the campus. What insects do we have? What birds do we have? What plants do we have? And that gives us the information that we need to then go, oh, okay, we're very poor in the number of birds that we have. What should we do? You know, once we have this baseline data, then we can make informed decisions about how do we protect habitat? How do we increase habitat? And what's the best way forward to make sure that we're increasing the biodiversity to keep our space healthy. It's very, very simple to participate. All you need to do is find wildlife, which includes grass, plants, ants, whatever. Take a picture of it and share it through the iNaturalist platform. We're going to do a little demonstration here today of how you would do this, but if you want to come out and do some in person, Paul and Power, which is a sustainability ambassadors group, is going to be organizing bi-weekly bio blitzes throughout the summer, as well as we're going to participate in the City Nature Challenge, which is many cities from all over the world invite their citizens to just go out, take pictures of what they see when they're outside. You upload it again to the iNaturalist website, and then people will verify it, and it contributes to the scientific data. And the idea is the more information you get, the more data you give the scientists, and the better work we can do in the future. So yeah, that's the end of my presentation. I'm going to pass it over to Marc-Antoine now.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. So let's screen share. Screen. All right, perfect. So thank you very much for the brief introduction. Now I'm going to go a little more into the science side of community engagement. So citizen science, that's a word we might have heard before, but it's a really powerful tool for change that we have that's very accessible today. So I hope that at the end of my talk, you'll come away with three things. Just a general appreciation of citizen science, a couple little fun anecdotes of cases where citizen science has worked, where it's being implemented, and a passion, really a drive to go out and try this for yourself. So what is citizen science? Citizen science is really, it's when scientists work with the general public to help recruit people to perform observations. And this is a really fun and easy way to get a lot of people outside and thinking about the world around them. This is really accessible, and a big plus of this is it gets people to really connect with nature. So that's a really important goal in sustainability. It's getting people outside and caring about the world that we live in, and just finding nature everywhere where you live. Cities are not the ecological deserts that we thought they once were. And most importantly, a lot of examples of citizen science are really effective. They work, and it puts pressure on people in decision-making places. So without further ado, I'd like to talk about birds, because birds are a hit. It's probably the largest percentage of naturalists. People love birds. If you see a bird, you have to kind of stop and look. The cardinal is the poster child of birders in North America because it's bright red and it's usually always there. So that's really fun. And there are a couple great examples of what birders have done for citizen science. And the first one is the North American Breeding Bird Survey. And this is a very old and robust data set of citizen science. People since the 60s have been going out and doing what we call routes, where they'll walk, drive, travel for about 25 miles and stop every half mile to see, okay, what birds are here, which ones are they, are there a lot of them? And that map to the right, all those dots are routes. There are, I think, over 3,000 routes that are done about every year, and there are thousands of people that constantly do this. And they're a mix of biologists and amateur birder volunteers that help out with this. A great way to get involved in birding is eBird and Merlin, and both of these are apps that are run by the Cornell Institute of Ornithology that help you learn about birds, identify birds, and really get started. And one more local example is Bird Protection Quebec, which is a group that's focused around the observation, the conservation, and the education of birds. A great example is the Technopark north of Montreal. So that's an example really close to home. The Technopark wetlands are a huge the group is fighting for the protection of this area. They've been fighting since 2016, and there are about 70 species on the island that they're either a year-round population, they're endangered species there, and this puts a lot of pressure on people in power to conserve this area, because the more people are present in an area and the more people that use this space, the more it gives it visibility. An older example is it's not just birds that gather attention. So there's the example of the Genji Firefly, which is a Japanese firefly. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen fireflies before, but it's something that you don't forget. It's really cool. They light up. It's kind of like fairies all around you. And in the 18th and 19th century in Japan, people started figuring this out. So they would harvest these fireflies and bring them into cities, into schools, into restaurants and hotels. But this put a lot of commercial pressure on these fireflies, and it caused overharvesting. And along with industrialization, there was a decline in habitat and water quality. Now, what Kiichiro Minami and others did is they began to observe these fireflies, and they didn't really have a formal scientific background, but they learned about the life cycle of fireflies, which wasn't really known yet, where they deposit their eggs in moss, in moist, humid moss, and then that goes into rivers where they eat snails, and then they complete their life cycle with the adult breeding phase, where they blink. So the methods that they developed were able to raise fireflies in captivity and release them in the wild. And today there are stable populations of fireflies that are increasing. They're not what they once were, but without the efforts of these people, there probably wouldn't be fireflies in Japan today. And what's really fun is that the methods are easy enough that even school children in Japan will do them. But they're not the only insect that are subject to citizen science. So there are a lot of great examples here in North America. There's the monarch larva monitoring project, where scientists and kids will go out and try to see what the habitat's like. Is there habitat for monarchs? Are there larvae here? There are a lot of other ones where people will use iNaturalist, which we've talked about before, to see where the monarchs are at what time of the year. The painted lady, which is the butterfly on the pink flower, is the most common butterfly in the world. It's got a global distribution. Something that hadn't really been observed before until recently is some of these butterflies will go from North Africa all the way to the north of Europe, sometimes even Iceland. And people always assumed that their life cycle ended there, and then the next generation came back down. Using citizen science, they found that the butterflies made their way back to North Africa. The only thing is, this time they came back hundreds of meters up into the air. It's really hard to spot. It wouldn't have been noticed without a really concerted effort by a lot of people to try to observe these. What's really fun about insects and citizen science is you can track range distribution a lot better, or a lot faster. So with invasive species, you can see when they're expanding because you've got a lot more eyes on the topic. Something that's also fun is citizen science can also detect when species that were once extirpated from an area come back. And you can track abundance in behavior as well. I myself am working on a project where I go through iNaturalist and count caterpillars to see if they're social in more cold and arid environments. And finally, you can also detect climate change using plants. So we all know that the Earth is getting hotter, but what is the effect that this has on plants? Well, plants are more invariable now. When flowers bloom is harder to predict. Sometimes it'll be really early, and then sometimes it might even be later. So what happens is groups will recruit people to take pictures of when flowers bloom. So if you've ever been hiking or something, or if you've ever been out in nature, I'm sure you've taken pictures of flowers or plants before. And this data can be really useful for scientists because we can't be everywhere at once. And all you have to do is take a picture of flowers. So an example is the Appalachian Mountain Club is trying to monitor how climate change is affecting the top of the mountains. And they're using this they're determining this with the help of hikers. So we've talked about this a lot. This is probably the largest citizen science database that there is. And what's really great about this is it encompasses everything. It's not just about birds, it's not just about insects or plants, it's all taxa. So you can upload all of your observations to this thing, and it's really easy. This also feeds into GBIF, which is the Global Biodiversity Information Facility, which also uses databases from scientific papers. But it's really easy to use. The data is accessible to everyone. You don't have to pay to use this. And what's really easy is all you need to do is give the date, the time, the location where you observed it, and your guess on an observation. And then that makes it good enough for research. So how do we do this? This is really cool. I want to get involved. It's really easy. There are 3 simple steps. All you have to do is plan to go outside and take a picture. I'm sure if we all look through our phones right now, we'll be able to find a picture of an organism, whether it be a plant, whether it be an animal, maybe a mushroom. Your house pets can also be uploaded to iNaturalist. They actually encourage it because it's more of like a fun thing, right? You know, dogs are everywhere in the world, but your dog is probably not on a citizen science website. You can upload these pictures from your phone or desktop afterwards. On the desktop, you can upload all of your pictures from a hike in one go, and then you can give it your best guess on an identification. If you don't know, that's okay. People will probably sort through it. So this is what it looks like on a desktop. So this is my account. I'm following a couple people. Oh, look, somebody uploaded a new insect observation. Great. I want to upload a couple observations from some pictures that I have on my phone. So up at the top right, I've got this big green upload button. I'm going to click on that. This brings me to a screen where I have to choose files. So I've got a folder of a couple images. I'm just going to select all of those and hit open. Now, as we can see, the date that they were taken, the location, and the time observed are all there. And I can give my best guess on some species. So, okay, there was this picture of a pig. I don't really know that much about pigs. I don't know if it's a subspecies or not, but okay. So then, okay, I did a little bit of research, and now I think it's the domestic pig. So I give it my best observation. I also put that it's alive. It is an organism. Perfect. But it's not yet research grade because somebody else needs to go through it and say, I agree with this person. Thank you, Science Girl 02. 1 hour later, she says that it's the domestic pig. Great. And now we have a research grade observation. So how is this useful for us? Well, something that's really cool about iNaturalist is sometimes people will upload something and it's the first picture that the internet has ever seen of this species. Sometimes snail species or plant species, stuff that maybe is less tracked. So I think most birds will have pictures up on the iNaturalist, but there's one case where somebody put a picture of a snail and they're like, what is this? And somebody looked through drawings from the 1800s and said, hey, this is that snail species. We've never seen a picture of this one before. It was described, it was accepted, but nobody had ever seen a picture of that. And then that person got to have the bragging rights of, I'm the first person that took a picture of this species. You can also detect if a species has been introduced into this area, or maybe, hey, conservation efforts worked. The eagles are back. And you can also read up on species that you've always wanted to learn about and, go through pictures that, oh, actually, I know what species this is in particular. It's this butterfly because it's got a little extra red dot. Now, how do you get started? Like I said, you go outside and you can look for species in your area. iNaturalist also has a very fun explore option where you can just go on a map, put it on a species. So, I think that there might be a bat in the area. I've never seen a bat, but maybe there is. So you can put in bat, and then it'll show you in your area where bats have been observed, or if they've been observed. Then you can also look for projects or events in your area. Jackie is doing the City Farm Challenge? City Nature Challenge, right. So that's an event where people come and do something it's like a bio blitz. There are usually a lot in the areas, especially in the summer. So look out for those. It's a great way to meet people that also like being outside. And you can learn about species too. And like I said, you can help other people with identifications. Some people, it's like a little hobby. I follow some people where they're giving identifications every day. They get home and they're like, oh boy, I can't wait to look at caterpillars. And why is this important? Well, there are a couple different things, but I'd say the most important is it helps bring people closer to nature. A big goal in sustainability is if people start redeveloping the bonds with nature that we've tended to neglect, we will do a much better job at conservation because it's something that we genuinely care about. And if everybody cares about something, then we'll tend to want to keep it. So, it also helps scientists plan their conservation efforts. Because if you know that there's an endangered species in an area, or, oh, look, this was observed in this park. Let's say something like the Minister of Transport does a survey in May when the species doesn't come out until June and goes, okay, well, this species isn't found. You can say, this species is found in this area. I've found some, people have found some for the last 10 years. You cannot build here. It gives you a solid scientific background for like, no, we have evidence to disprove this claim. You can also create communities. You can bring people closer together. It's a great way to make friends. I've actually kind of started messaging a couple people in the area that have like, oh, they've identified my observations, I've identified theirs, and it's like, hi, how are you doing? And then, you go on a hike. And it can also help give visibility to parts of the world that science tends to forget or that we just don't have a lot of observations on. So we tend to observe a lot of the northern hemisphere, but what about the other parts of the world where it's difficult to access or we just don't know about it? It gives people a voice. Okay, so that's my little spiel on citizen science. Does anybody have a favorite species? Oh. Yes.
Is it on? Oh, great. Thank you so much. That was great. Marc-Antoine, I love your research, and I just was wondering if you could just really quickly tell people how you're studying social issues in caterpillars using iNaturalist.
Okay, so me and my colleagues think that we'll be able to detect social behavior in caterpillars using iNaturalist. So we know for a fact that caterpillars will spend more time grouped together if it's colder or if the climate is more arid, because it helps them preserve heat and body water. So if we're right, then we should be able to detect that in citizen science, because that's something that we've known. So it's more, are we able to detect behavior using citizen science? And we don't really know yet, because it's still in the early stages, but there are enough images of caterpillars grouped together that, you know, they do group together.
I turn this on.
Yeah, and sometimes this can depend on how late they are in their life cycle, how early it is in the year, how late it is in the year, whether or not there were cold conditions or not on that day. So
And time. You
yeah,
have all those data. That's
it
amazing.
gives us a lot of knowledge, and we have a very large spread. So I'm able to look at caterpillars all around the world, and I don't have to travel. I don't have the budget or the funding to ever do that. But with citizen science, I can travel from the convenience of my desk.
Thank you. I'll stop hijacking your workshop.
All right, one more thing. I'm going to show you guys how you can explore using citizen science. So if you click on explore here, what's something that you've always wanted to see that lives in the area that you've never really seen? Or something that you really like seeing and you want to see as often as you can? An owl, okay. Let's go owl. All right, so let's see here. Where have owls been spotted? So lucky for us, there are owls in, oh look, there are owls all around us. So there are some on Mont Royal. All right, so they didn't get too close, but this very angry looking owl is right here. Does anybody else have a species that they want to see? Brown snake? All right. Yeah, so I put in the island of Montreal because I don't have to scroll as much. All right, so this is in the Falaise Saint-Jacques. Yeah, oh, that's your picture. So here's a nice little brown snake. So, you know, snake, you can hold it in your hand and they're really scared of us, and they kind of look like a piece of rope if you don't know to look for it. But yeah, there are a couple small little snakes on the island. So you can use this as a tool to, oh wow, I've always wanted to see an owl. Where can I look for it? For example, I think the closest observation of a bat was 2 blocks from here. So if you ever want to participate in citizen science, you can always just explore on your own, and you know, it can kind of serve as a base for where you want to explore. Yeah, let's do demonstration. Does anybody want to come up and try to identify one of these plants using a citizen science? Using iNaturalist?
Can you hear me now? Okay. So to use the iNaturalist app, there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. You can just download the app onto your phone and then you take pictures. Or if you're less confident about your identifications, there's another app that's connected to it called Seek. And this is what I'm going to show you guys today. This one will actually you just point your camera at it and then it'll make suggestions for what the species is, and then you can upload it to iNaturalist after, and it gives you some pretty interesting information. So I'm going to try to let you see this through my phone. So this is what the app looks like, and then all you need to do is turn the camera part on, and it invites you to scan the environment until you see something. So I'm just going to bring one of these plants a little closer, and you can see as I point it, it gets all the way to actually identifying the species of this plant as garden sage. So I will use the new photo, and then it will give you information about the species. So if you're out just walking around, you see something and you're like, oh, what's that? This will help you. So you take a picture, it gives you the Latin name, it tells you a little bit of common information about it, it'll provide a range map and the taxonomy of the plant. 10 other people have seen garden sage nearby, so we know we have some gardeners in the area. Shows you the seasonality, and it's really, really simple to use. Another way of using it is to use right directly in the iNaturalist app. This one. So these are some of the observations that I've been making. The same thing. You're just going to click down on the add, take a photo, and then you can come in, take a picture of the plant. I'm always doing plants, but you might do birds or insects or your dog. But try to get a picture that shows quite a bit of the plant. And then here, I'm going to pretend that I don't know what it is. So I'm just going to leave it blank like that. You click the add button, it'll add it on. It'll upload it as an unknown species. And then as Marc-Antoine showed you earlier, somebody, maybe Science Girl 02, will jump in there, look at that picture that I took and say, oh, that's garden sage, and add the taxonomy data for it. And that's how it works. That's how it's citizen science. It's like crowdsourcing identification of your pictures. So you can know what it is or not know what it is. You can just think it's interesting or not. But if you just take a picture and upload it on there, somebody who does know, who likes to use this app to make friends, who likes to use this app when they're riding the metro, like me, just will scroll through and they'll know what it is and they'll add it. And then that you've contributed scientific data that's super valuable to researchers like Marc-Antoine or many of the other ones that we work with here. Yeah, I was just going to say, if anybody has any questions, now is the time. I think if you just want to wait for the microphone.
Photograph of the snake. I don't have the app. I just took it on my camera and then I opened up I put it in the iNaturalist on my computer. So if people don't have the app or you don't have your phone or whatever, you can still access the app on the computer with photographs you've taken like on the camera or some other thing.
Exactly, yeah. Like say if you were to go home and download this today or sign up online today, you can go back in time. You could go back to your photos that you've taken whenever, and you can upload them. It doesn't have to be a real-time application. Like you don't actually have to be pointing your phone or a camera at it and uploading it instantaneously. When I discovered this app, I was like, I have taken so many amazing pictures of bugs and plants in my life. And I just started uploading all of them and then waiting to see like what they were identified. For me, I found it really, really fun. But that is my idea of a good time. But yeah, like it's very simple. And using it on the computer can be easier because it gives you a lot more space to look at it, and it's you can see the other people's contributions more.
Yeah, I mean, for science, it's more beneficial if you have a location, right? Because you want to know population fluctuations and things like that. So if you just see something and you pick out a photograph from 3 years ago, it doesn't, like, unless you have a location, I don't know. Like,
most of the photographs have the metadata in it that'll give you the time, date, and GPS location, and then you make the choice when you use iNaturalist. This is important for your own privacy. When you use iNaturalist, you can set it so that it can use the exact, really precise location of it, or you can set it so that it'll give a 1 kilometer radius. So say if you're taking pictures in your own backyard and you don't want everybody to know that you have the prettiest cardinal in the world that comes to your backyard, you don't want to give away that location, you can mask it by a 1 kilometer radius, and it's still very valuable information. But a lot of the time, like I said, the photographs themselves contain that data.
So something, let's say I get home and I really like sage. I'm a sage biologist. I live and die by this sage. Whoa, somebody just put in this unidentified observation. They didn't know what it was, but we all know that it's garden sage because we're experienced sagers. So what I can do is, I know it's garden sage. I tell us why. Typical sage. Okay, perfect. So, and then now this observation shows up as needs ID. And we need a second person. That's right. So then once somebody comes along and agrees with me, then it'll be research grade, and then maybe somebody's looking at how many plants, how many cultivated plants are on the island. Well, this will be a data point for them.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments right now? Rebecca, of course.
Oh, there we go. Okay. As a biologist, I know that sometimes there are endangered species that we don't want the public to know where they are. For example, American ginseng, try to keep it secret where it is because we don't want people going out and collecting it, because that's one of the risk factors. Yesterday, one of the students was talking about turtles and how we need to make sure that we don't release data on Blanding's turtles, for example, because people go out and that's a problem. So is iNaturalist make that problem worse? I mean, the masking by 1 kilometer is a help, obviously, but has there been, do you know of issues or any discussion around those issues for things that identify species and location for endangered species?
That's a really good point. I don't know.
Don't know. Okay, so something to look into. I mean, I know your example of development, for example, if, God forbid, in the worst world, if somebody finds an endangered species on a land that's going to be developed, then they know where it is, they can go pull it out. Cynical, but yeah. Okay, so maybe if you're not sure, it's best to mask the location if you think it's something really rare.
That's it, yeah. And I think I don't know exactly how you can do that. But that's definitely something to look into. Yeah, is like how to protect the endangered species. I believe you can make some of your projects private. So the information, like most of the information that is shared on iNaturalist is in public projects. And projects is just drawing a shape around a piece of land and then counting what's inside of that. Most of those are public because that's a lot of the idea. But if you wanted to look for something that was endangered, I would assume you would just make it private and share that data only with the researchers that you're working with.
Interesting.
But I think that's our job as scientists and educators to make sure that people understand why they're endangered and that they have value. So maybe don't go out and make turtle soup with the endangered turtle species.
Agreed.
I actually just looked on iNaturalist for the answer to the question about endangered species, and the platform itself, if a species is considered, if its official status is threatened or endangered, it automatically obscures that location information. It will provide it to researchers upon request, but it doesn't leave it open to the general population. It's not endangered, it's not threatened in this exact location, according to its official status.
So with the brown snake, I think it's that in general, as a species, it's not threatened or endangered, but let's say on the island, the populations are very small. So it's threatened locally, but as a whole, the species itself is not threatened.
We have one more question from Andrea. Go ahead.
Sorry, it's not really a question. Thank you for the great presentation. I just wanted to say that Mind Heart Mouth will also have a call for volunteers, and it's very soon.
Yeah, and that's a good cue for me, actually. If you are a student here at Concordia and you're an undergraduate, you can earn credit for doing, potentially for doing work in the gardens under our internship program. So keep your eyes open for those opportunities. You can contact Andrea. Jackie, I don't think you're looking for interns, but if you ever are, a lot of the gardens are looking for students to gain some experience. It's a real learning experience and help out and learn about growing food and other things on campus. So reach out if you're interested. If you're a student of the Loyola College for Diversity and Sustainability, minoring in sustainability studies, hopefully you've been paying attention to your emails and you know about this program, but we can credit other students as well. That's my last slide. Go ahead, Andrea.
Also want to say that I often hear students that come to the garden and say, oh my God, it's my first time at the Loyola. Like, you cannot have your Concordia experience only be downtown without ever stepping foot at Loyola. It's pretty, it's green, and there's a lot of people working at making it look that way. So
it's not that far, come visit. Anyhow, we're not at Loyola today, we're in the Force Space, and we're very grateful for this space and for the support of the wonderful crew here. We will be taking a break for the next hour. We're back at 1:30 when the Deep Time Walk participants will be back in this space. We will have Elder Charles Patton from Gagnawaga here in this space, talking about the Deep Time Walk with Matthias Frisch and the other participants who are currently walking from the mountain to the space. So we welcome you back for that. We also have events on the MB 9th floor going on. At 1:30, we have some more student presentations. At 3:15, we have our careers panel, so you're welcome to join us there. And at 4:30, we're going to be talking about COP15 and what it means for us a little bit more locally in terms of biodiversity conservation and globally as well. So hopefully you will come back, take a break, get some lunch, get some food. If you're here in the space, there are some snacks up on the B9th floor if you're interested. Thank you to all of you for coming in person and online. Thank you to the For Space, and hopefully we will see you soon.